Sam's speech is also 5 to 7 minutes. This is the middle section of his 45-minute keynote speech, How I Gained My Confidence. If you were not here last week, he shared the first 15 minutes of that speech, and we really got to hate Sam very much for how he treated his family, and particularly those dear sweet sisters of his. So today, hopefully, we're going to see the next stage. So welcome up Sam Knickerbocker, How I Gained My Confidence.
Have you ever had a moment where you were woken up to a situation, you thought you'd been communicating one way, you haven't, and as a result of that, you feel like you've lost your identity and are thus very inconfident. You don't really show up fully because you're uncertain about what the new rules are, how to actually proceed. You thought you had it figured out, and then you don't. I found myself in this situation after I found out that I thought I'd been being experienced by my family one way, but in reality I was showing up to them different. They were having a different experience of how I was treating them than what I thought I was giving them. This wrecked my whole world. It changed the way I thought about myself and left me feeling very inconfident about how to proceed. That was about age 11 or 12 years old when I experienced that. The next 6 to 7 years were me really identifying who am I. Once I really identified myself and understood that my mother, the person who I related this abusive behavior to me was from, I decided, okay, it's not her fault. I'm the 7th of 11 kids. She was noticeably stressed trying to raise our family and had some serious chemical imbalances. So I had learned to forgive my mom, but it didn't solve the question of how do I proceed? I had identified myself. I knew who I wanted to become, somebody that was still a leader, somebody who still loved those around me and led them to greater things. But the question still remained, how do I regain my confidence? And what is the path forward? So I went to school and I started studying psychology, thinking if I just learned more about the human mind and why we do what we do, then I would be able to heal more of myself and be able to give more compassion and love to those around me and share with them more truth. What I found was that I was going to study the behavior. This is psychology. Well, in psychology, they almost unanimously, not everybody, but almost unanimously agree that behavior is based on how the brain is structured. So an example of this is if you look at the mind, like the actual brain structure of a serial killer or serial killer or a high-level CEO, their brain structure is very similar, yet they act out in different ways. One is considered detrimental, the other is okay in society. So brain structure is important. So I said, okay, well, how is brain structured? Why is brain developing differently? When does it start? And I found that the brain starts being constructed and developing in the womb while a baby's yet born. Hasn't been born yet, but it starts developing there. So how is it developing? What's the things that are interacting with that? And I went back further and found that the real root cause is chemicals, hormones, and the chemical environment that we're in, whether it's food, water, air, the chemical environment that we're in. And I was like, okay, well, why would somebody choose to stay in a chemical environment that's not conducive to happiness? Right? Have we all experienced that where we are in a chemical environment where we're like, this is not fun? Maybe we've been in a smoky house. Why would you sit in a smoky house that you're choking? Right? You get up and move. So why do people stay in this situation that's bad? And in my specific situation, why are we sitting in a situation that's abusive, that's creating bad hormones that are causing our brains to develop a certain way? And it was there that in the research, I started to see where do these problems really show up? And these problems were showing up in the lower socioeconomic status, so lower class system people, will say. At the same time I'm discovering this, I'm going to a high-level psychology class. And my teacher, she was really hard on us. The hardest teacher I've ever had, but the best teacher at the same time. We've all had one of those, right? We all hate them, but we love them. It's this weird relationship. Well, I'm really grateful for one of the assignments she had us do. She said, go interview your future, because this is a long haul. If you're going into psychology and you actually want to make a half-decent amount of income, it's a 13, 14-year schooling career before you actually get paid any half-decent amount of money. And so she said, you really need to be committed to this if you're going to do it. So go interview your future. Anybody, have you guys ever interviewed your future? Like interviewed the people who are 10, 20 years ahead of you in the career that you think you want to be in? It's a fantastic process if you haven't. Well, I went out and I said, okay, I'm going to interview a therapist, I'm going to go interview a neurosurgeon, and a neuropsychologist, because these are the 3 fields of study that I thought I might want to go into. I quickly found out through this process that I didn't want to be in any of their career fields. They all seemed to be owned by institution, which would not give me the faith or family life that I wanted. They had to always be producing, they were always chasing the next piece of business, and I decided that's not really what I want to be doing. And so I went back to the class, wrote a paper, and turned it in to my professor. The next class period, she proceeded to tell a story, and this story really is one of the ones that I would say changed my life the most. She told a story of a 30-year-old gentleman who, well, starting in his life, he always wanted to climb Mount Everest. He was 30 years old when he climbed the mountain for the first time, and he failed. He didn't make it up the mountain. He just kept going back. Every 3 or 4 years, he'd come back down, recoup, and go back. Come back down, recoup. He never succeeded. And now he's 60 years old, and he's preparing for another trip. His kids now are noticeably concerned. Like, Dad, why are you still going up this mountain? Haven't you learned that you can't do it? Every 3 or 4 years, he's been trying, still hasn't succeeded. And he said something very specific to him. He said, I'm going to go up that mountain, and the only way I'm coming down off that mountain is if I plant my flag at the top or I die on the mountain, die on the side of the mountain trying. And then she asked this critical question. Are you willing to die on the side of the psychology mountain? I had already known that is not what I wanted to do. I was not ready to die on the side of the psychology mountain. But I did still want to have the impact still of helping people in the same childhood situation that I was in, dealing with behavior. So I decided to go back and say, well, what's a profession that's still going to give me the lifestyle that I want, and I'm still able to affect the same change in the people that I want to affect the change in. And thankfully the research was on my side, and the socioeconomic class system was where it mattered. And so that is why I chose to start giving people and educating people on finances, helping people understand their money. As they understand their money, they now have the confidence to get out of an unhealthy situation, chemical or physical, which then allows their brain to develop differently, which then impacts their behavior, which then impacts the lives of the children and the spouses in that situation. That's what I'm passionate about, and that's what I love doing, is helping people understand financial principles. Thank you.